All right, guys, warning and full disclosure, okay? The next 2 days of math are going to be very, very, very heavy on the teacher talking, okay? That is because while this is one of my favorite things to teach, it's also one of the more difficult concepts for third grade students to understand, okay? That concept is elapsed time. So what does elapsed time mean? I'm so glad you asked. Elapsed time is telling how much time has, excuse me, has elapsed or passed since something has started, okay? So an example, right now, 2 hours and 59 minutes have elapsed since students entered the building of Indian Creek. 2 hours and 4 minutes have elapsed since we started our Zoom this morning. So it's how much time has passed or has gone by during a certain activity, okay? It's also solving real world problems involving addition and subtraction of time intervals in minutes. You guys will use elapsed time. Right now, you probably already do. You definitely will as you continue to grow older. Okay, so for me, an example of me using elapsed time is I know that on Mondays I can leave at 3. Before I have to pick my son up at 5, I want to work out. So I have a 2-hour window of elapsed time, of time that's going to pass where I have to figure out, okay, where do I want to drive? What trail do I want to run on? How long is it going to take me to get back to my car? How long is it going to take to get to the daycare? So it's time passing, okay? If you guys, when the movie theater reopens, if your family ever goes to a movie theater, there is an elapsed time. It's how long the movie is. The theater has to know how long the movie is so they know if they can show an extra movie that day or if it's too long and there's only one. So elapsed time is how long it takes for something to happen, the time that passes within that, okay? Levin, a connection?
When me and my family went to a restaurant, we had a 20-minute wait.
Perfect. That's a great example of elapsed time. So your family agreed to let 20 minutes elapse or pass before you got a table. Waiting times are good examples of elapsed time. Wonderful. Tim, a connection. Tim raised his hand a minute ago. I think it's about this. Do you have a connection about elapsed time, Tim? Oh, for something.
About elapsed time.
Gotcha. Did you have something to say about it? Okay. Steve Rogers, the connection.
Here's an example, like the time is 10 o'clock and you have to get to work. We go to the Zoom, go back to our 10:30 Zoom at, 10:30. So you have the elapsed time of 30 minutes to get the work done.
Look at you, Steve. A real life application of how you guys do it. We get off, or your break is over at 10. You have to get on Zoom at 10:30. So Steve said you have an elapsed time of 30 minutes to accomplish your ELA task. Wonderful. Aiden G, a connection.
Like on our next break, our break starts at 11:45, and 11:15. Then we use the time until 12 o'clock, and it shows you that we had 11 hours and 15 minutes.
Is when your break started, when we're 11 hours into the day and 15 minutes into the day. Beautiful, since midnight. Your time from 11:15 to 12, that's a 45-minute break. So it's a 45-minute section of elapsed time. Look at you guys. I'm sitting here saying it's tough, and y'all are just like, what about this? What about this? What about this? Terrence, a connection?
Yes, I use elapsed time when I'm reading.
You do. How do you use elapsed time when you're reading?
So I don't have to ask my dad how much time I have left.
So you keep track of how many minutes you're reading yourself every day. Beautiful. Leah, another connection.
So if you are like playing a game maybe it can take 30 minutes. It depends on the game. And you have to get on Zoom sometime. So that's when you use elapsed time.
So you're talking about figuring out if we have enough time. So like, okay, let's say it's 11:30, I'm done eating lunch and I want to get on office hours. Do I have enough time to do this activity? So you're figuring out how much time is there. It's another great example of elapsed time, okay? You guys are experts. We're going to take a look at a Brain Pop Junior about elapsed time. She's going to give us some real life examples of when time elapses and how we can calculate that time. And then we are going to discuss some examples together, okay? So as you're watching this, I just want you to do what you guys just did. Make connections, think about what you already know, think about what you're learning, and we'll share some of those ideas out at the end, okay?
I'm excited about our field trip, Moby. How long does the bus take to get to the Hall of Science? What is elapsed time? Elapsed time is the amount of time that passes between one point in time to another. Elapsed time can tell us how long it takes to get somewhere or how long something lasts. Knowing elapsed time can help us make plans and be on time. You can measure elapsed time by using a stopwatch. How long can you stand on one leg, Moby? The stopwatch counts up seconds, minutes, and even hours. Wow, you can stand on one leg for a long time, Moby. Moby, I think it's time to go now. You stood on one leg for 10 hours, 25 minutes, and 48 seconds. How can you use a clock to figure out elapsed time? The bus leaves at 9:40 and arrives at the Hall of Science at 10 o'clock. How long is the bus ride? You can use a clock to figure it out. Start at 9:40 and then count up by fives until you get to 10 o'clock. 5, 10, 15, 20. The bus takes 20 minutes to get to the Hall of Science. Cool! There's an electricity show at 10:30. What time is it now? It's 10:08. How much time do we have until the show? I can count up 2 minutes to get to 10:10. That's an easier time to work with. Now I can count up by fives until 10:30. 5, 10, 15, 20. Now add the minutes. 20 plus 2 is equal to 22. The electricity show is in 22 minutes. How can you use a chart to figure out elapsed time? The insect exhibit opens at 1:45. What time is it now? Let's see. It's 11:15. How much time do we have? You can make a chart to figure it out. You start at 11:15 and you count on 1 hour to get to 12:15. Then you count on another hour to get to 1:15. Then you count on 30 minutes to get to 1:45. Now add up all the hours and minutes. The exhibit opens in 2 hours and 30 minutes. How can you use a number line to figure out elapsed time? Look, there's a planetarium show. It begins at 11:50 and it's 35 minutes long. What time will it end? You start at 11:50 and count on 35 minutes. Let's see. I can count up 10 minutes to get to 12 o'clock. Then I can count on another 10 to get to 12:10, and another 10 to get to 12:20. I've counted up 30 minutes so far, but the show is 35 minutes long. So I need to count up another 5 minutes to get to 12:25. The show will end at 12:25. Cool, we can design our own robots. How long is the workshop? I can start at 1:10 and count up an hour to get to 2:10. Then I can count up 10 minutes to get to 2:20 and count another 10 minutes to get to 2:30. The Design a Robot workshop is 1 hour and 20 minutes long. What kind of robot are you making, Moby? That was a fun trip to the Hall of Science. Moby? Moby? Ah!
Dun, dun, dun. All right, so taking a look at elapsed time, did anyone find any other connections between something that they know or something that they learned with elapsed time? Any familiar situations that you saw, Leah?
So that's kind of like when I had my iRead test, it was kind of 30 minutes. So it wouldn't take that long.
Yeah, we used our elapsed time skills to build a schedule for the iRead test, okay? We know we've got to get you to school. We know we've got to get the practice. We know you need to go to the restroom. We know you need to take the test. We know you got to eat lunch. We had to set times or elapsed time segments for each of those activities. Yes, so scheduling, great example of elapsed time. Any other connections or something you've learned? Terrence?
I didn't mean to do that.
Gotcha. All right. We're going to take a look at how we're going to structure this for you on Seesaw. Okay, this is our first year teaching elapsed time digitally. So we've got to think about how can we make this make sense when you don't necessarily have things to hold on to, write on, and look at. Okay, so this is an example that comes from Miss Renalé, and this is a real life example of Miss Renalé's schedule in getting ready for school. Okay. So take a look at how we're going to solve these problems, and these are the steps that we're going to follow together.
Let's do an example together of a situation where time is passing or time is elapsing. Our problem says Mrs. Renalé wakes up at 6 o'clock a.m. 2 hours later, she is at school and working with students. This is a true fact, by the way. What time is it then? Today you will be given a situation just like this, and your job is to find out how much time has passed. So let's look more closely at our problem. Mrs. Renalé wakes up at 6 o'clock a.m. I notice my start time to the left matches what is in my story. My analog clock and my digital clock say 6 o'clock a.m. Next, I'm going to figure out how much time has passed. My story says 2 hours later. This word later is important. It tells me that time is passing, that I'm moving forward in my day. We know that there are 24 hours in a day. That word later tells me I'm going to move forward to find what time it is now. I'm going to be adding the time to my start time. My start time is 6 o'clock. And how much time later? Oh, that's right. The text told me 2 hours later. I'm going to add 2 hours to find out what time it is now. You can line it up just like this with your ones tens, and hundreds to determine what time it is now. Today, you're going to prove your work by showing the clock. You will match your clock to the start time. This clock says 6 o'clock. Then I'm going to show what happens when 2 hours later has passed. I can take my hour hand and move it forward in my day, adding 1 hour plus 1 more hour. Notice that your minute hand has gone around 2 whole times. 2 hours later than 6 o'clock is 8 o'clock. I can prove that by adding them together, and I can prove it on my clock. Today you are going to write the time and show a picture of your analog clock. You're going to add the picture to your Seesaw page right where the box is. Finally, I need to think about, is it AM or PM? I know that Mrs. Renelle wakes up at 6 o'clock AM, so I can think about that number line again. If Mrs. Renelle wakes up at 6 o'clock AM, that would be in the first half of our day. 2 hours later tells me we moved forward in our day. 2 hours later is still in the first half of our day. I know that it is 8 o'clock, so I can stick with 8 o'clock AM and to show my work.
Okay. Now, one thing that I want to caution us about using that strategy of adding in times is being very careful with making sure that your time is still real on a clock. Ms. Sousa, what do you mean by that? Well, let me show you what I mean by that. So one thing that we have to be really careful of is remembering that there are only 12 hours on a clock with AM and PM, okay? So for example, let's say that it was 9 o'clock PM and we wanted to add 4 hours. Okay, so we're going to add 4 hours. What we can't do is say, oh, I know that 9 plus 4 is 13. So it's 13 o'clock. Why? Because we don't have 13 hours here. Now, Levin, yes, you do have military time. I know that you've shared your family uses that. That's not our standard and that's not the common time, okay? The common time that you will see on clocks, meaning the most relevant, is going to be 12 hours. So what we have to do is we have to think about what it means to start at 9 and add 4 hours. So I, instead of using the addition, like to actually touch my clock and count. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. I'm at 12 and now I start back over at 1. So now it is 1 o'clock. And that can be confusing because some people say, well, 9 plus 4 isn't 1. And you're right, it's not. But going around a clock, it is. So I'm not a big fan of this strategy, but I do want you to know that it exists, okay? This can get pretty confusing for people, so I like to show actually adding by touching the hours, okay? So make sure you're keeping that in your head. I gotta make sure that it's time that actually exists, okay? All right, let's take a look at a few of these examples. So if you guys would please, we're gonna go into our Seesaw activity and add a response. The activity is called Elapsed Time Introduction. We just watched a video from Miss Renelle where she showed a start time and how long it has been. We're going to take a look at a few of those together. Okay, so a start time and how long it has been. I want you to go ahead and move to slide 8. We're going to kind of jump back and forth. We're going to watch a video. We're going to practice. We're going to watch a video. We're going to practice, okay? So on slide 8, you will see a short story about Annalise. I'm going to highlight important information. Annalise ate lunch at 2 p.m. That's when she started lunch, so I'm going to make it green, like a go on a stoplight. She ate lunch at 2 p.m. It took her 30 minutes. I'm going to make this yellow because that's how long it was going on. That's when she started to slow down, was in that 30 minutes, okay? It took her 30 minutes to finish lunch. Our question is asking for the stop time. What time was it when she was done eating? Okay, what time was she done eating? So we know that lunch happens in the afternoon, so it's 2 p.m. Her lunch is going to take her 30 minutes. So let's hop over to our clock and let's make our clock say 2 p.m. Okay? If you need for your clock to show you the time, that's fine. Go ahead and click on that show. It is 2 p.m. She got a 30-minute lunch break. Okay, that's about standard and average in America is 30 minutes to eat your lunch. We're going to move our minute hand 30 minutes. She didn't get an hour. She got 30 minutes. So let's grab our minute hand and let's count by 5s until we get to 30. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Okay, so 2:30 is what time my clock shows. 2:30. Leah, a question?
So what I did, I locked the hour hand and the minute hand, so one of them will move at a time, not both of them. So when I move the hour hand, the minute hand will stay where it is.
Perfect. Yep, you can use that where you can lock it right there. That is totally fine. Oh, and I think some of you might be blocked. I'm removing the blocking. I apologize. There you go. You're good to go now. Okay, my bad. My bad. Okay, so we're going to get it to 2:30 p.m. Once your clock says 2:30 p.m., you are going to take a screenshot of it. Dun, 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 dun. So I'm going to take my screenshot of my clock. And we're going to put it on Seesaw right there to show what time lunch was over. Okay, go ahead and get that done. Get your screenshot on there. Yes, Levin.
Site is blocked.
It is not blocked anymore. You need to refresh.
I just did it again.
Try again.
Okay, there.
Alrighty. And Tim, we're on slide 8 on Seesaw. Slide 8. Yes, Steve Rogers.
Sorry, I was having the same.
Gotcha. Okay, so now that we know our clock shows it is 2:30, we're going to write that down. It is 2:30, and we didn't cross over the 12. We stayed in the 2 o'clock hour, so it is still p.m. We have not switched into a.m. by crossing over that 12. Okay, 2:30 p.m. What questions can I answer about how to answer that type of question where it tells you how long has passed? Okay. There are other questions like this that you are going to practice. Okay, Tim, you're in there. You played a game for 2 hours. You guys are going to practice with that. Now we're going to take a look at a different way to look at elapsed time, which is when the activity finished. Okay, so I'm going to play a video from slide 5. You don't need to play it, otherwise you'll hear the sound going crazy. So I'm going to play the video and you guys are going to watch this example, then we'll solve one together. Okay, here's another example of elapsed time.
Sometimes when we talk about elapsed time or time passing, we might be moving backwards in our day. Let's talk about what that means. Here we have a situation. Jackie walks her dog every day for 30 minutes. If it is 3:30 p.m. when she is finished with her walk, what time did she start her walk? When I look more closely at my problem, I see that she walks for 30 minutes. This is the time that is passing or the time that is elapsing. My problem says if it is 3:30 p.m. when she is finished, this word finished tells me this is the end. It is 3:30 p.m. when she is done with her walk. I know that 30 minutes has passed, and that is the time it took to take her walk. So, what does my problem ask me? It asks me, what time did she start her walk? I don't know what time Jackie started her walk with her dog. Today you're going to have problems like this where you will have to figure this out. When we talk about the hours in a day, sometimes we might be thinking about going backwards in our day so that we can see when something started. We might need to subtract some time to figure out when Jackie started her walk with her dog. I know that the hands on an analog clock always move clockwise, which means they go to the right. This is how the time is shown on the clock. But when we are trying to figure out when something started, we might need to move the hands backwards to figure out when something started or began. This is called counterclockwise. If we subtract 30 minutes from 3:30 p.m., what time did she start her walk? Let's look on the clock together to prove our work. Today you will start with the end time, showing 3:30 p.m. And I want to take away 30 minutes. I want to go backwards in my day to see what time she started. I will take my minute hand and I will go backwards in my day by 30 minutes. I'm going to skip count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes. If her walk ends at 3:30 and she walks for 30 minutes with her dog, Jackie started her walk at 3:00 p.m. Today you will take a picture to prove your work. You will put it over the box on Seesaw, and you will write your time. I know that Jackie started at 3:00, and now I need to consider if it's still PM or AM. I know that moving back 30 minutes has not gotten me to 12 o'clock, which is when it would switch to AM. So I am confident that Jackie started her walk at 3:00 p.m. in the afternoon.
Okay, So elapsed time can move forward as we just practiced together. And as you've seen, it can also move backward to determine when something started. Okay, so let's take a look at an example of how to solve that together. Again, you guys have these videos right here in slides 1 through 7. You have the videos and the examples. We're going to take a look at solving one together today, and then the rest of these are going to be practice. So if you feel stuck, you can go back and watch that video linked in, okay? Alrighty, so slide 8 we solved together. We're going to look for a problem where time goes backwards, okay? Timothy played his game for 2 hours. He started at 11 p.m. Nope, that is time moving forward. So let's move on to slide 10. Mrs. Thaxton went for a jog in her neighborhood on Saturday. She began running at 9:30 a.m. What time did she finish? Nope, that's time moving forward. I'm giving you guys hints right now. Slide 11. Students at Mill Creek Elementary are in school for 7 hours each day. Their school day starts at 7:30 a.m. What time does their day end? Nope. That's time moving forward. Slide 12. Mrs. Sousa got to work at 7:30 a.m. Ooh, I noticed a difference already. Look, my time's over here at the ending time. Look at all these. It's at the beginning. Aha, I think we're onto something. The car ride was 30 minutes long. What time did she leave her house? Yes, we're going back in time. Okay. So I got to school at 7:30. The ride is 30 minutes. So what time did I leave my house? Okay, so this is like that example. We're going to go backwards in time. So let's go ahead and grab our clocks and set up what we know. We know that I got to work at 7:30 a.m. That's when my ride stopped. My ride was 30 minutes. We're asking what time did I leave my house? That's when I began my workday, okay? When I'm leaving my house. When I'm in my house, that's my personal time, okay? When I'm driving to work, I'm getting ready to start that workday. So we're looking for the start of my workday, okay? Let's click on our clock and make it say 7:30 a.m. Terrence, a question.
Can you go back to slide 10 and 11?
There you go. It's just drawing the same arrow forward. Nothing new.
So you said that's independent work?
Yes.
Okay.
Alrighty, so slide 12, we're taking a look at our clock, which is starting at 7:30. I like to check my work. I'm going to click show. Yep, 7:30. Okay. If I am driving to work, we know that that is in the AM. It is before noon. Okay. We are going backwards or subtracting 30 minutes. Let's write that on our seesaw activity. We're going backwards 30 minutes. So on our clock, we're going to move our clock backwards 30 minutes, okay? So let's move our hand back by 5s until we get to 30. So that's backwards 5, backwards 10, backwards 15, backwards 20, backwards 25, backwards 30. Okay, my time is 7 a.m. So that is what I am going to write or copy, I apologize, onto my seesaw activity. 7 a.m. is when I left my house. 7, and we didn't cross over that 12, so it is still a.m. Okay, 7 a.m. is what time I left my house, so we went backwards. Okay. I gave you hints for your independent work on 9, 10, and 11. I want to give you some hints on your independent work for 13 and 14. So let's take a look at them. I'll give you another moment to get your clock on there and to write your time, and then we're going to look at some hints.
Can you go to slide 10?
Just an arrow, baby. That's it. Okay. All right. Take a look at your screens here. Okay. Slide 13, let's read it. Mr. McKinney spent his time with his family for 3 hours on Sunday afternoon. Okay, that's how long the activity was. That's the time that elapsed, 3 hours. He was done with the party at 4 p.m. That's when the party's over, 4 p.m. What time did the family party begin? So again, for this one, you're going backwards in time. Okay, you're going to be subtracting 3 hours. Hi. 1 second, kiddos. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay,
Can you go back to slide 12?
there you go.
Can you go back?
I am back, Terrence. All righty, let's take a look at 14. 14 says Kylie does her homework every night for 30 minutes. 30 minutes is how much time elapses.
I thought we were doing 13.
No, we're not going to solve them. I'm giving you hints for how to solve them independently. Okay, 14. If she was done with her homework at 7 p.m., so that's when she finished. She's done at 7. What time did she start studying? So again, for this question, you are going backwards 30 minutes. You're subtracting 30 minutes. Okay. All right. On slide 13, as always, you're going to use the mic to describe your success with today's skill. And I want you to remember that you should be using vocabulary. So, my friends, hashtag Leah, I took my time on it, isn't vocabulary. You need to tell me how you're doing with these skills. Okay? So saying I took my time, or it was easy, or it was hard is not vocabulary. Okay? Tell me about your hour hands. Tell me about your minute hands. Tell me about moving them. Okay? Use your vocab to explain how you're feeling. And this is day 1. So if you're kind of feeling a little sketchy, that's okay. It's day 1. Be honest with this, okay? All right, so your independent work today is to complete the rest of those slides. You have 5 slides. Slide 9, slide 10, slide 11, slide 13, slide 14. 5 problems to solve for independent work today, okay?